For sure, for sure, for sure. Hold on. I'm gonna let a couple more people join, and then we'll get started in a second.
Yes, baby.
I don't want to play with the donuts anymore. I want to play the phone.
Okay, baby.
Come on, Kai.
Baby, can you go another room?
Hmm?
Can you go in another room?
I don't want
I don't control anything in this house. I'm just the guy with the food and the phone.
That's it, huh? The tablet man.
Yeah, right.
All right. So let me get started with you guys. I don't want to keep you guys waiting too long. All right. So thank you guys for being here once again. Thank you for joining saveArose's Surviving Fathers. It's an honor to have you guys here with me. I've been talking to some of you for a while now, since the beginning of this journey, and you guys have really helped me, and you guys have helped me cope and learn, how to deal with this, because it's not an easy thing to deal with, especially on your own. It's something that's very heavy, and you need support. And there's this stigma that is made to believe that as men, due to our masculinity, um, we have to hold everything in, or we can't show emotion, or um, we can't be vulnerable, and we're here to break that, because during this mission, I found out that my strength was in vulnerability, and my strength was sharing my story so other fathers could understand my situation as well as y'all's, and realize that there's help out there for us, right? So yeah, thank you guys again for joining us. So I just want to get started and just learn about a little bit who you guys are. If you guys just want to start with that, your name and where you're from.
I'll go first. My name is Xavier DeLeon. I'm here in Cali, Bakersfield, California. I'm 24 years old. Studying to be a barber right now. Just trying to, rebuild my life. For those of you that really kind of don't know my story, or just a little bit about it is, I had, just like we can all relate. I had lost two of my loved ones, my wife and my son, Malachi. Demi was my wife, and I lost them to medical negligence. So just taking it day by day, and just very thankful to be here with all of you.
So first of all, huge shout out to Bruce, and the whole Save a Rose Foundation and the magnificent team that's been working to pull all this together. My name is Charles Johnson. I'm the extremely proud husband of the late Kira Dixon Johnson, who also passed away as a result of extreme medical negligence. I am the father of two amazing boys, Charles, who is 6 years old, and Langston, who is 4. And, this has been a journey that I never saw in my life unfolding like this. But, now that I'm here, that we are in this situation, we've made the conscious decision that I'm going to do everything I can to prevent what happened to my wife from happening to other mothers. So it's an honor to be here, sharing this place and this space with all y'all. And all of y'all, thank all of you all for tuning in for the conversation this evening too.
I'll jump in. Armand Kadima. I am in Atlanta, Georgia, and I also, of course, lost my wife, Yolanda Schiffer Kadima, to due to complications from a procedure that delivered our twins, Yavin and Shifra. And Yolanda leaves behind, myself and 7 other children. And, we're just navigating through the emotions and the adjustments of this experience. So I've been very grateful for these fellas on this panel because they really have been there for me through all the dark times and anxieties and, just trials over the last, just over 6 months. So I'm just thankful for this opportunity to be able to be here to just share, my story and uh, and support one another through this journey. Thank you.
And my name is Omari Maynard. I am the life partner of Shamani Gibson. We had 2 children together, Kari and Denari. Shamani passed away 2 weeks after giving birth to our son. And first of all, again, I'm sorry. I should have started this off this way. Amber, happy birthday, man. We appreciate you. We love you. Thank you for putting this together and, for making sure that all our partners are, being covered by you. I know you guys are all doing your thing up there and just around us, making sure that, we are connected and that we stay connected and that, we use our pain and our, sorrow for, positive purposes and transitioning into, greater things, so I just appreciate you for that. And then Bruce, thank you for putting this together as well. I love you, man. And again, everybody has said on the panel, just to kind of piggyback off Armand, I have never thought I'd be in this situation. But I'm definitely grateful for the men that I have met, through this path, because of the fact that, there's just certain things that, you can share and you can talk about and you can have people come into your life and, also support, but it's a whole different kind of ball game when you are dealing with individuals who are going and experiencing the exact same things that you are, in the exact same way, so, thank y'all. I couldn't be here, without you guys' shoulders to lean on, so again, love all of y'all.
Love, much love, much love. Thank you guys so much for sharing. So, Amber and I met maybe back in like 2008 is when I met Amber. And, I knew right then that she was someone that I wanted to have in my life. I just didn't know in which way, right? And, as life goes on and I'm moving back and forth between the Bronx and North Carolina, we're still keeping in touch as friends. And I actually tried to holler at her maybe like 6 years ago, and she turned me down. She was focused on school and focused on her career, very goal-driven, family-oriented. And that's all she could really focus on and focus on, college and her career after college. And once, in the summer of 2000, it was at the end of the summer in 2017, we started talking again. And we actually talked for almost a year before we, made things official. And it was actually around my birthday, May 12th, on my birthday, in 2018, when she was receiving her bachelor's in psychology, right? And she had invited me to go to her graduation because she knew I was coming back up for my birthday weekend. And unfortunately, I didn't get to make it because I was still on the road while she was walking. But that really kicked everything back off for us. And it seemed like after I moved back to New York, a month after that, we were inseparable. We felt like we've known each other our whole lives. We felt like we've been together our whole lives. And, you know, after 4 months, we were already looking for places together and trying to move in. And we just had so many plans. And, you know, of course, as time grew, those plans just grew and grew and grew and grew and snowballed into something amazing that I was never expecting. Now, how did you guys meet your partners?
I'll go. I met Shamani. I think it was around the same time, actually, like probably like 2010, maybe something like that, around there. But we met at the Police Athletic League. We both worked at the same center together. Shamani loved kids. She always worked with kids. I've been working with kids in some way, shape, or form for pretty much all my life, right, since I was like 18. So, you know, we met, but it was same kind of thing. We were just really friends, you know, like I wasn't really on it like that. She wasn't really on it like that. But, you know, we just had, you know, I just loved her personality. She was super funny, you know, chill, you know, and the thing that I liked the most about her was that, you know, like her attitude was, you know, like you can't holler at me. Like, you know, like I'm good. Like, you know, nobody's gonna mess with me, you know? And you know that attracted me. You know that I thought that was dope. You know, so what ended up happening was, you know, just actually what she told me was that the whole reason why she even really saw interest in me is because my son at the time was going to police athletic league there as well. My oldest son, I think he was about 6, maybe something like that, 5 or 6 at the time, and she just loved the way that you know, I interacted with him and how I was a father to him. And, you know, that was what attracted her to me. And, you know, ever since then, we just kind of was kicking it, chilling. You know, we got into a little relationship that we kind of fell out. But, you know, that's how good relationships work out. You know, you leave and, you know, you realize ain't shit out there for you, you know, but this other person, you know. So we ended up you know, getting back together. And then, you know, shortly after that, you know, I want to say we started like seriously like dating like in April of 2017, excuse me, 2016. And I want to say like that next month she was pregnant, you know, so we weren't playing any games, you know. And then after that, you know, that was it, you know, like I knew who I wanted to be with, you know, and I knew what we wanted to do. But what I didn't know was how powerful our relationship was and what could really come out of it, you know, when working collectively. And, you know, not just like, you know, you my partner, but, you know, like you're my partner on so many different levels, like creating businesses together, having children together, connecting families together, building community together. You know, and that's what I really, really missed the most about our relationship, you know, because it was one that I've had like no other. Like I've never really been with somebody like that where we, you know, we're locking step on so many different levels.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you.
I'll go next. So I met Demi in 2016, and we were going to college at BC. I had kind of knew of her, but I didn't really like meet her until college. We actually had a class together. It was the ethics of living and dying, and so you know, I kind of bumped elbows with her here and there. And I remember, you know, it was kind of, I mean, looking back at it, it's kind of funny, you know, kind of dumb, but I'm glad it happened. And my friend was like, "Oh, I bet you," because he knew that I was really interested in her, but I was too scared to go up and talk to her. So one day he was like, "I bet you won't go talk to her," and I was just like, you know, obviously just being nervous, you know, because she was a very beautiful woman, you know, it was kind of intimidating, you know, no man likes to be denied or anything like that, you know. So one day I went over after class and kind of introduced myself, and then I think that same day or day after, I kind of messaged her on Twitter or whatever it was, and then we were friends for, I'd say, maybe about a year. And then after that, in September of 2018, that's when we became official. And then things kind of just, you know, kind of snowballed from there. And the bond got a lot closer. I was very attracted to her because she was very independent. You know, she was one to kind of remind me like I don't need you kind of thing. You know, like so that was what that's what I like too, knowing that everybody couldn't have her, but I was the one that was given that opportunity to be in her life like that. You know, she was very intelligent, very go-getter. You know, very just knew what she wanted in life. You know, and just helped me become a better man in ways that I don't even know. And still to this day, you know, she's still helping me become a better man, you know, because there's just things that I don't even know about myself that she's still teaching me, and she's not even here, you know. So that just shows what kind of person she was. She was very family oriented, very loving, you know, but you for sure didn't want to get on her bad side because, you know, she would let you have that side too, you know, but it came from a love point of view because she just really cared about first herself and cared about the people that she loved, and she wasn't going to mess around with her future, you know. Then we ended up moving in together. We got our first. Well, first she was going to go to San Jose State, and around that time her dad had just passed away, you know, and she had came back. We ended up moving in together, and then had to move back in with her parent with Tracy because, you know, I couldn't make ends meet on my end. So that was a very humbling experience. And then was able to found out she was pregnant, and that's part of the reason why we moved back in to her mom's house. And you know, kind of got back up on my feet, got the new job. She was able to just about to graduate college, and from CSUB, and you know, found out she was pregnant, had to, you know, man up pretty much, get a job, get a new place, you know. So it was around that time when everything had happened for me, is right when we had just got our new place, and she was just getting ready to graduate school for CSUB for psychology, getting her bachelor's, and that's when everything kind of happened. So yeah, it was just at the very beginning of our I guess not relationship, but just the very beginning of that part of our chapter. You know, it was, you got the good job, got the house together, got the baby on the way, had everything put together, and then just kind of ended like that. You know.
Yeah, it's kind of like that happened to all of us, because, you know, I had a very short time with Amber as well. I only had a few years that I got to actually spend with Amber as a couple, and you know, same, very smart woman. You couldn't tell her nothing. She was about her business. You know, she chose me type of deal. Very loving, very caring. Same. She, if you got on her bad side, you got on her bad side. But then again, if you got on her bad side, then that meant something was wrong with you. You know, just because of the type of person Amber was and her character. Such a phenomenal woman, and all of us in this room have phenomenal women that have reached milestones and have done things that a lot of the normal people, even things, Amber has done things that I couldn't do. You know, and you know, the strength of these women is just very inspirational. But yeah, I don't want to stop anybody else. Anybody want to go next?
So yeah, so one of the jokes that me and Kier would always go back and forth about is like there would always be kind of like her version of the story of how we met, and then, you know what I'm saying, my version. So y'all are stuck with my version. So we were actually at a mutual friend's birthday party at this you know, she doesn't like me to call it a lounge. She's like, you make it sound like we met at some club. And I was like, well, it is what it is. So, like I said, we were at this lounge, and we were about to go. And I'm gonna share something. Then this is corny, but it worked, and it wasn't even in my arsenal. It wasn't even in my go-to. Like, it wasn't even in my repertoire, but it was just instinctual. So I'm walking out of the party. The friends that I came with were leaving, and as I'm walking out, like I see Kira just standing there. And she is just, when I tell you, like, she just has her arms folded, this scowl on her face, like she is not feeling this, like she's ready to go, right? And I was like, because it was like, it's out all, it's like, like, I'm trying to figure out what her issue is, but it's like, as I'm walking out, as I'm walking towards her, she's between me and the door. Frankie Beverly, Before I Let You Go is playing, right? And it's out of nowhere, I just start singing like to her, and her face just lit up with that smile. And I was like, oof, like, man. And so we chatted for a quick second. And like I said, my friends were leaving. And so we exchanged information. And then, so this is like 2006. And so we started hanging out. But once again, similar to Demi, similar to Amber, you know what I'm saying? Like, similar to all these women, like, she was pretty much like, bro, like, you got way too much going on, right? Like, this was Atlanta, you know what I'm saying, in the mid 2000s. Like, let's just say I was young. I was on, exactly, right. And I was in the land of plenty, and she saw that. So she really was like, look, bro, you. And so we would hang out, but she was like, no.
That's back when Freaknik was popping.
Bruh. Yeah, that was like that. This is like
that's after Freaknik. That's like the BMF era.
this is post Freaknik, on the cusp of the on the BMF era, which was a whole nother monster. And you know, so she was like, look, you got too much going on. So what ended up happening is Kira ended up moving to China, right? And so we kept in touch a little bit while she was overseas. And like you said, she just went to China to visit for, I think, 10 days and ended up staying for like 2.5, 3 years, right? So by the time she came back, it was like, 2011. And that's when we really started hanging out, and we really became inseparable. We started dating, and I had slowed down a little bit and was able to really focus and just really understand how amazing this one was. She was truly unlike anybody that I had ever met. And she was just so dope, and just how driven she was, and how, like, I almost kind of talk about Kira with solving problems was almost like Neo in the Matrix. She would see something that would just have people stumped, and she would just be like, and just have this way of just solving problems and putting things together and just bringing people together. And her energy was just so contagious and infectious. And then, kind of much like what Omari was saying, for me, one of the mistakes, or one of the things in my growth as a man, in relationships as a young man, particularly being an entrepreneur, I tried to make a distinguishment, like it was my personal life, and then my business was my business when it was personal. I would always try and keep the two separate. And it was the first time in my life that I had somebody that could truly be my partner in every single aspect of my life, and like cause me to level up, right? And help me, and inspire me and motivate me, and just everything she did just made me a better man. And she had a way of doing these things with this nurturing way that was never like, I'm going to tell you what you need to do, I'm going to show you. And it's like, it was just amazing, man. And just special one-on-one. I talk a lot about, when I talk to other people about you all, and kind of the commonalities of these queens we've lost, it's like they all just were, the best way to describe it is like earth angels, right? Like, there's so many parallels, right? When I talk to Bruce about Amber, when I talk to Omari, you know what I'm saying, when I talk to Armand, like, it's just these parallels. And one of the just kind of most powerful moments for me on this journey is when I came to New York to be with Omari for the first Aftershock event around Shamani's birthday. There was this painting that he had done with Kira in it, as well as Mustafa's partner, who passed as well. And it's the three of them together. And I really just, in my mind, just envisioned just all these women in the beyond, just being best friends, right? And I don't know if I can articulate that in the way that I truly feel it, man, but I just feel that there is a connection amongst the souls of these women somehow, some way, man. Yeah, so that's my story.
Thank you so much for sharing with us, Charles. I appreciate you. And Armand?
Man, thank you all for sharing your stories. It's powerful. Um, it's just amazing how much, these women meant to each of us. Um, I met Yolanda back in 2003. It was in college. I was in the computer lab, and she walked in, and it's like she lit up the room. I was like, OMG, like, I was like, man. And she just came and sat like directly, in front of me where I could, look right into her eyes. And I just couldn't help, but I was just distracted. I couldn't even focus on whatever I was doing. So I said, excuse me. I said, you have the most enlightening face. And she chuckled. Um, and later on, she told me that was so lame and corny. She used to pick on me all the time. She's like, I had no game. I'm like, that's cool.
Don't let them fool you. Corny works sometimes.
Exactly. She gave me her number though, right? And and when I called, she answered, and it was good. I remember the first time her and I actually hung out together. We went to Walmart to just shop. We're college students, so she came in. So hey, you want to go to Walmart with me? I was like, sure. I love Walmart. Let's go get it. And I remember when I opened the door, I looked into her eyes, and I just felt I had this feeling, almost like as if it was surreal. It was almost like I knew I would spend the rest of my life with her from that moment. It was just her eyes were just glistening, and it was just I could just see it vividly, just feel it, feel the energy exchange at that point. And we just vibed. She immediately became like my best friend. I had all my homies, my homeboys, and they started clowning me because I was never around anymore. I was always at her house hanging out with her, and you know, I had to find this, and they used to pick on me, and I had to find this Trick Daddy song at the time. It was Could It Be was the name of the song, and he was like, in the song he was talking about how he said, could it be that I'm lost or getting soft or just falling in love? And so one of my friends, we all played football. So one of my, teammates was from Florida. He loved Trick. He thought Trick was the hardest, most gangster rapper out there. So he was always clowning me, talking about, oh, you lame. It's supposed to be MOB, this, that, and the other. I'm like, whatever. I'm like, Trick got this song where he's like, hey, forget your homies. If you find somebody that you love, you could, feel free to go do what you got to do as long as you handle your business. And I was like, yo, whatever. So anyway, so Yolanda and we just hit it off, and we were just spending every day together after school, after classes. We were just, it was just an amazing time. It was probably the most happiest time of my life. And, we soon graduated from college. We got married and started a family. And then it was hard, raising, Yolanda always told me that she always wanted a large family, right? She kind of grew up as a single child and didn't really have a large family type of environment growing up. And similar to me as well, I lost both of my parents at a young age. So I didn't have that family dynamic of having, large family holidays and get together. So we always wanted a large family. And that's something that we always talked about. So, we got married in late 2004, and, we immediately started a family. And, around 2009, at this point, we had 4 children, including a set of twins. And things were just difficult, because we had 4 children, and it didn't make sense for us to, to send them to childcare. So we decided for her to, stay home and raise the children while I went to work and focused on, supporting and providing for our family. And so it was very challenging, because we had to cut down our income by half, and it just became very stressful. And we, unfortunately, through all the trials and tribulations of young Black families in America, we ended up actually divorcing in 2013 because I was just going through my challenges. You know, I was dealing with some personal um, personal battles, you know, from losing my parents and really never dealing with that trauma. And the fact that I also felt lost in the corporate world because I didn't feel like I was getting the opportunities that I deserved as a, you know, as an accomplished professional. So she got, you know, we were bickering and, you know, arguing and just things just weren't happy. So she filed for divorce. You know, like I always tell people, like I never cheated on her. I never, you know, never, it was never physical. It was just she was. I would say that she was the strongest of the both of us because she. You used to always tell me, she was like, Armand, you're not the same person I married. You know, you had so much dreams, you had so much passion. You dreamt about, you know, accomplishing so much and, you know, traveling and, you know, um, just, you know, changing, you know, the world and all these things, but you're not the same person. And I can't stand by your side with you being less than what I know you could be. You know, your potential is, you know, immense, and you're just not leaving, you know, you're not living according to your you know, what you what your capabilities are. So she felt that divorce was the only way she could wake me up and demonstrate to me that through love, which, you know, sometimes is misleading. Sometimes you have to leave someone that you truly love for them to really understand that you truly love them. So through the divorce, you know, after a couple of years apart, I went through this awakening. You know, I realized, you know, that I had lost sight of who I was and purpose, and, you know, and things that inspired me. So after a couple of years of being divorced, we still were the best friends even through the divorce. We always, you know, used to laugh, hang out, you know, talk on the phone, and still we were still cool. We were still the closest of friends. And eventually, after a couple of years, we, you know, we reconciled, you know, and got back together, got remarried, and uh, and from this point, from the time we got back together, she noticed the changes that I had made, all the work that I, you know, went through to become this, you know, this person that she felt that she could be with again. And I even remember up until a year ago, she was just like, "I'm so proud of you." She's like, "I just, you finally become the person that I always knew you would become." And she's like, "I'm so happy." She just used to tell me all the time over the last year or so, a couple of years that we were together, how happy she was. She's like, "My life is fulfilled. You know, I'm a stay-at-home mom. You know, you're financially responsible now, and we have, you know, all these things." And she's just like, "I'm so happy. I'm so blessed to be able to be home with our children and not have to worry about any finances or, you know, it's like, this is just a dream that's come true for me." And she always told me that she wanted, you know, she wanted a lot of children, a lot of family. And so I finally felt that we finally have figured it out. We finally made it. We finally were able to build this family unit and structure and bond with one another that was unbreakable. You know, we even named our son, who's now 2.5, named him Kashar, which means to bond together, to bring together, and which that can no longer be separated and set apart. So it's
Take your time, brother. Take your time. But I mean, I feel exactly where you're coming from. Uh, we all feel you, bro. We all feel you, Armand. And you're a strong man, and it takes a strong man to get up here and share that. You know, and it seems like we all had our women push us to do better. And you know, that was Amber for me. She didn't like me. She didn't like seeing me on the couch moping around. And you know, moving to New York was a hard transition for me too. You know, I was living a good life in North Carolina, and you know, coming back, I thought I had opportunities set for me, and you know, that stuff it was harder than I imagined. And I had Amber here to help me and guide me through things. And you know, there was stuff that I was struggling with, such as like depression and anxiety. Like I had really bad anxiety since 2014. And, it took, I spoke to therapists, I spoke to friends, and nothing really did it for me until Amber came around. And, Amber really showed me a lot about myself as well. Um, and, and how a lot of my stress comes from things that are beyond my control, things that aren't meant for me. And that drove me crazy. And Amber was there to console me and help me through and help me push through anxiety, help me push to do better. She was teaching me about self-love and self-care, how to love myself and how to feel good about myself because I deserve it. There were times where I felt like I was undeserving of Amber. I felt like I did not deserve Amber whatsoever. She was just way too good for me. She was out of my league. And she was always there to assure me, and she would say, why do you always say that? Why do you feel like that? We deserve each other. Um, and, and I know how also that feels stepping into the corporate world as well. Because stepping back into New York and those opportunities not being there for me like I thought, and being in business, I had to step back into the corporate world as well. And that's hard, especially when you're a person of color. Man, I got tattoos and braids, and I wear jewelry and all types of stuff. So when people first initially see me, um, when I go into interviews and stuff, they think I'm a white man because my name is Bruce McIntyre the third. Um, they'll see me and be like, "Whoa." But I got a really fresh suit on, and my business etiquette is proper. Um, and I there was a period where I was trying to find a stable job because Amber and I had just gotten a place together. Just like you and Demi Xavier, Amber's father had just passed away 2019. And he was the one that planted that seed and said that we shouldn't, wait around to have children, that we are perfect for each other. And he was telling this on his deathbed. And and that was really eating her up. And we were just both going through so much, right? And I just remember coming home and she was in the living room, and I usually come in, I wash my hands, take all my stuff off, hug her, kiss her. But this time I was just feeling this heaviness, to where I couldn't even look at her, um, because I had just lost my job. And, and we had just moved into this place together and we're building. And, you know, I was somebody that always tried to hide their emotions. I didn't like showing my emotions. Um, so I was crying in the kitchen, but I was trying to keep it down because I didn't want Amber to hear me. Um, she had her little spider senses. Made her way to the kitchen and she's asking me what's wrong, what's wrong, what's wrong. Um, and I'm telling her and I'm crying and I'm just like, I really don't want you to be upset with me. Um, and I told her like I just lost my job and they were doing cuts at work and, being the last new person in and them making cuts, I had to go. Um, and I remember just telling Amber and telling her like, I'm trying so hard out here and I don't know why nothing's not falling through for me. And I just remember being so upset. And she's hugging me from behind and she's reassuring me that everything is going to be okay. That she's going to hold us down until I can pick back up. That she doesn't care if we got kicked out and lived in a cardboard box, as long as she got to be with me and we were together. And that right there really showed me that Amber was the one. And after her passing, like I thought I was not going to be able to handle this at all. Um, you know, because me dealing with stress and anxiety and depression, um, it just snapped to me, and I can hear Amber in my ear, you know, telling me that I got this, and telling me that I can do this, and you know, basically all the things that she would say to me during my panic attacks just kept replaying and replaying and replaying, and that's her conditioning me to be a stronger man. Um, I didn't think I would be sitting in front of you guys. I didn't think I had this strength. You know, this is when people see me and they see me speak, and they see me speak to crowds and speak to politicians. You know, they're always asking me, like, how are you doing this? Why are you not resting? How are you able to do all of this? And I'm simply just telling them, this is Amber's strength. This is not my strength. This is Amber's strength. And this is her pushing me to be great, and to be and to push me towards my life purpose. So you know, all of us, all of our queens were phenomenal. And they have all done remarkable work. I mean, that's the reason why we got them pregnant in the first place. Um, you know, and we really wanted to hold that down. But I do feel like they are aligned on the other side, and I feel like an alliance was formed, right? And that God left his strongest soldiers here on earth to combat against this crisis and to fight this battle, which is unfortunately why our women are gone, and we're left here to fight for them, and fight for their love, and fight for their honor. Um, and it's brought all of us together, and look at the phenomenal work that we're all doing as individuals. You know, just imagine what that's going to be like coming together, right? um, and I think it's fair to say, and to speak on behalf of everyone in this room, when I say that what happened to all of our loves, all of our beloveds, was 1,000% preventable, right? 1,000% preventable. Um, you know, and it's pretty hard to combat against the system when the ones who are causing harm are being granted immunity, right? It's like trying to destroy a battleship with a butter knife. It's, it's it almost seems impossible. Um, can you guys just tell me a little bit about your children as well? And excuse me, Xavier. You know, but can you guys tell me a little bit about your children and their personalities? Do you see um, their mother in them in any ways? Can you guys share any of that with me?
I definitely Anari is Shamani, like Shamani 2.0. Yeah, exactly. She's got this fire in her since, and she's always had it, like, since she was like, you know, months old. She just had this personality and this fire and this presence about her. So during, like, for school, like during her parent teacher conference, you know, you know, her teachers were like, you know, she's just so personable. She's, you know, she's a leader. Excuse me. She's a leader. She's got, you know, she's so many of these traits that are going on. A lot of them, I like to say that, you know, it's me, you know, because I was, you know, I'm kind of the, I was more kind of outspoken than Shamani was. She was a really more of a, like, I'm behind the scenes directing, pushing buttons type of thing, and you know, you go on the floor and do the song and the dance for us, you know. But I'm controlling things, you know. I see a lot of that in Anari though, like in terms of being able to control and, just just bring people together as well. Kari is, he's on a whole nother level though in terms of like communicating and his presence. It's different when, I guess when you're a child and you grow up with a sibling, so he's kind of picking up on a lot of things that just really quickly because of the fact that he's got a older sister and the way Nari is. But in terms of like, because my biggest thing was, and I'm still really scared, honestly, about how they are going to deal with not having a mother, so not having their mother per se. They have motherly figures, of course, in the community, but having their mother, like, and when and how are they going to handle that, and how is it showing up now, presently, But I mean, they're just super affectionate towards each other, man, and like that is kind of my biggest thing, because I'm dealing with my own, this is off. I'm going off right now, so this is definitely not answering your question, but I'm dealing with my own issues, like in terms of of just picking up the pieces, trying to figure this out, because everything was based off of what we were going to do together, and how we were going to raise our children, and how we were going to, take our family to the next level, And then now it's still that, but she's not here with me in order to, really kind of navigate those things. So a lot of the pressure for me is making sure that one, I do my part, and two, that I make sure that, I have her in mind as well in terms of what maybe she might do or say, or what position she might take for the decisions for our children. But more than anything, just making sure that in all of this, like, I've got good days and I've got bad days, and my bad days are like I'm drained, but I still have to be a father. Like I still have to do the things, Um, and I really try to be mindful of making sure that I'm not projecting, I'm not projecting any bad energy or anything that I don't feel like my kids need to take on, because it's not on them, it's on me, so like I battle with that a lot, but like I for the most part, man, I'm blessed because I've got cool kids. I say this all the time, like my son super dope, my oldest son is super dope, Anari is super dope. Like I got blessed, man. I got a lot lucked out with just some cool kids. Like I love my kids. I know parents who love their kids but hate them. Like that's not me. Like I really got kids who, are holding me down the same way I'm, holding them down. So, but it's scary, man. It's scary because I never thought that I'd be doing it this way. So I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready, doing it with Shamani either. It's still a learning process then, but it's a whole nother process now. And, I just, and all of this, of course, I just miss her. I miss her so much. I miss her presence so much. I had a dream about it the other night. And, it was just like, like we ain't miss a beat. Like we were just kind of doing the same thing, the same way we always did it. But the part that killed me the most is like I knew it was a dream. Like in the dream, I knew this was a dream, because it was just so great. It was so perfect. But when I woke up, it's like, like I'm in the bed by myself, like I'm doing this on my own. I'm doing this in the physical on my own. And it's a battle. It's a real mental, spiritual, physical battle that, and it's an undertaking that it's my only focus right now is just getting the left in front of the right, until I figure it out. And hopefully I do. I might never figure it out, but I don't even know if that answers your question, or even when to start or begin or end. So I'm gonna just stop right here.
No, you answered my question, but
Yeah.
what about so I have another question. What about breaking the news to them, have you broken the news to them yet about what really happened to their mother? And because I know that's something I think about a lot. That's something that I'm trying to mentally prepare myself for now for Elias. Um, and which is why I'm also trying to do so much work so he can also see what happened to his mother and who his mother was. Um, but yeah, what was that like if you guys did break the news to your children? What was that like? I know Charles, I know you did. And I know that was a little rough for you. Could you share a little bit on that?
Yeah, man. That's still this day like the hardest thing, right? Um, and so for me, so my boys are 18 months apart. So when Kira passed, my oldest son Charles was 18 months, right? And so even kind of starting it back at the beginning, and we just talk about kind of these bonds. Talk about there's nothing like a mother's love and these connections that mothers have with their children. So my mom tells a story about the night that Kira passed, my mom had taken our oldest son Charles back to our place in Los Angeles, and because he had been at the hospital all day waiting on his little brother to show up, and he'd been a trooper, so took the little dude back, and we were still there advocating and trying to figure out everything. And my mom talks about how around um, 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning was the time that Kira passed. Charles was out cold, and she said he just woke up, popped up in the middle of his sleep, and just started screaming and crying at the top of his lungs, right? Like hysterically, and she couldn't really console him and didn't know what was wrong. Just out of nowhere, just popped up in his sleep and was just crying. Then she found out later that that was like very close coinciding the time that Kira passed. And so, you know, having to deal with that and try and communicate to an 18-month-old, right, what was going on, because clearly he was looking for his mom, and you're trying to communicate to him, well, mommy, when he's asking for his mom, and you're in this place, in this space where you can't quite tell him, you definitely can't tell him that mommy's dead, but you're telling him, well, mommy, mommy's not coming home, right? Or mommy can't come right now. And what I would say would evolve into the point where, as he got to be closer to 2 and he can comprehend a little bit more, was, I started to just communicate to him, which is the best I could at that point. Is, well, where's mommy? I want mommy to come home. Where's mommy? I want mommy to come home. Can I see mommy? And even asking, can you call mommy? Can you call mommy on the phone? I just simply say to her, like, mommy, she's in heaven doing important work with God, right? Even though you can't see her and you can't touch her, she's in our hearts. And it's tough, right? Like, there's no easy way to have that conversation. And what happens is, as they grow and as they mature and as their awareness evolves, and also as they begin to see and put things together with other people's family dynamics, the questions evolve too, right? And so you have to be prepared, because these little people are so smart. They're so smart. And I'm just so grateful that, like, what Amari said, it rings so true for me, because like my kids are just so cool, right? They're just, despite everything that they've been through, they're just so cool, man. They don't, they rock out, they listen, they're just energy and light. And you'd ask a question, I was going to just share this, and just let me deviate for a quick second. When you asked a question about, did they remind you, I was going to share this real quick, and I won't go into it, but I was going to share this. Your mind, you asked, do your kids remind you of their mother? And I was going to share this real quick. Oh, it won't. I was going to share this picture of Kira and Langston, but it's all good. But yeah, man, they definitely remind me of their mom. But those conversations are tough, Bruce, right? Like, and the conversations don't get easier, they just evolve as they get older, right? Um, like Charles knows that his mom was a teacher and she taught. So, I remember like his first day of school at his new school, he was all excited. And he said, Mommy's a teacher. And he says, Mommy gonna be at my new school, right? Like, is she gonna be there? Like, they'll ask. And it's also interesting too, because like milestones are tough. And so they'll want to know if mommy can come to birthday parties, or when we travel, is mommy gonna be there? Um, and um, I've told the story. I think I might have shared it when we had conversations before. Like one of the toughest ones is just asking. You say like, "Mommy's in heaven; she's doing important work with God." And just this day, when Charles told me, he's like, "Well, mommy's I want to go to heaven too. Can I go to?" And I was like, "Yo, like, not really understanding what that means." And so you just do your best to just try and navigate. And so, very much like you, bro, Bruce, like that's what drives me so hard to go so hard every day. Like my knees hit the floor, and then when I hop up, my foot is on somebody's neck about this, because like I want my kids to be able to see like we might have lost, but they didn't win, right? And even though your mom isn't here in the physical, like her energy affects the masses and affects people that she's never known. And she will be immortal, because she will continue to affect people's lives long after I'm gone, long after you're gone. And the work that we're doing, of course, the sacrifice that all these women have made is going to mean, it has to, like, not like there's not an option. Like, it's not like the loss, what I'm saying, is far too great. Like if there's no option, like it has to mean something, right? These losses can't be in vain, right? Like what Xavier's going through, it can't be for nothing, right? Like what Amon is sitting up here pouring, it can't, right? Like I'm looking at Omar, like standing in that gap, and like y'all know that there's nothing that can replace. It don't matter how many times you know what I'm saying, like, sing Baby Shark. It don't matter like how crazy and over top the birthday parties are. It doesn't, nothing can replace a mother's love, man. So that's why when it's all said and done, it has to be a game changer. It has to be, period.
And it's going to. It's going to. It's already in the works. It's just a matter of time. It's already in the works. We already
Yeah.
put in the work, and it's just a matter of time. And Armand, would you mind sharing if you feel like it, if you're up to it?
Yeah, your initial question is, yeah, all the children remind me of some facet of her, right? Starting off with the oldest, Jamila, she's Yolanda's like split image. She's exemplifies her wisdom. Like, Jamila and I can talk about some of the most complex spiritual conversations, and she'd be right there with me, like the same way that you know Yolanda and I used to talk. I read these books that are spiritually enlightening, and I have her, I share some stuff from the books with her, and she's just like, wow. And then she gives me, feedback, and I'm like, wow, that's, that's Yolanda talking right there. AJ, AJ is very quiet and reserved. So he exemplifies her thoughtfulness, and she was always very thoughtful and, always observant. And then, will come back with, wise counsel. So AJ, he sits back and analyzes it, and, analyzes things. And then he just may say a word or two here and there. And it's just, always on point. Um, Alana is feisty. She's just, she she's 12 and she's just feisty, and she has that, I may kid around with her and she'll look at me a certain way. And it's Yolanda, the same way that Yolanda would look at me when I was being silly or, doing something I shouldn't have been doing. So it's like, I see that. And then Zaire, he's like, he's just sharp, he's sharp as a blade. He's just, he's you know, he's very talkative. You know, he's an orator, so he speaks very well. So he has that you know, the gift of gab that Yolanda had. You know, Yolanda would be the person that would, you know, will pump some Tupac and she would like spit all the verses like she was a rapper. Like, you know, like she would just be, you know, she'd get in the zone and start, you know, we'll bump some Nas and she'd be, you know, spitting all the lyrics. She's like, I should have been a rapper, you know, stuff like that. And Zaire's like that. He'd just be talking, you know. Then Kashar, Kashar is 2. And, you know, so when you guys talk about, you know, he's 2 and I have not been able to talk to him, you know, about what happened to his, you know, to his mom. But I almost feel like I don't have to, you know, because I believe that, you know, they say that 70% of our communication is nonverbal. I think he understands because I remember around the time her transition, when we were all like in pain and crying, he would walk around the house like hugging us, you know, holding us. You know, he would see me on the couch just, you know, stooped over, and he would just come over and just pat me on the back. You know, I'm like he knows, you know, I don't, you know, there's something divine there that I can't quite comprehend or, you know, process, but he's, you know, he's connected, he's in tune, he knows what's going on here because he's able to comfort us and be there. And then the twins, you know, the twins are just, they're just over 6 months right now. And, you know, Yolanda, through her, you know, she served as she was a, you know, a doula, a lactation consultant, IBCLC, and an aspiring traditional midwife for, you know, I think she started doing this back in 2009 or so. And she took on, you know, when she committed her life to her, what she called her ministry of serving her community as a doula, she took on the name of Shifra, which was one of the midwives in the Bible that, you know, disobeyed, you know, Pharaoh's orders to murder the Hebrew babies. So she took on that name as her spiritual name to, you know, to fulfill her life's purpose and mission of being a doula and a midwife and all that good stuff. So when she, you know, because typically her and I had a tradition of first seeing our babies and kind of seeing them and kind of analyzing their personalities before we named them. So we had a list of names, but I had yet to, you know, we had to finalize, you know, because we didn't get ultrasound, so we didn't know. We assumed we were having a boy and girl, but we weren't for certain. So we had boy and girls names picked out, but we didn't and never named them. So she transitioned 3 days after her birth. So immediately my first thought was that I would name the baby girl Shifra, you know, after her, you know, the name that she took on. So it's almost like she's like Yolanda reincarnated. I could just see, you know, even Jamila and I were talking the other day. She's like, she was like, she's just like mom, you know, it's almost like she embodies Yolanda's spirit. And then the boy, you know, the twin boy, you know, I named him Yavin, which means understanding. So he's just calm. He just, you know, he's just chill. And, you know, through them, I'm able to, you know, somehow, you know, find some type of resolve that, you know, that this is not for naught. There's a purpose here. There's something that we're all are supposed to learn from this experience, you know, all of us, you know, myself, her children, her friends, families, whoever. There's something here because everybody that knew her, always felt that she was, you know, out of this world. Like she was like beyond her years. Like she always just had this sense of wisdom and guidance and a sense of operating that most people admired in such a, you know, she was 35 years old and people just used to, I don't know, she just had this, I mean, her clients, you know, people that the lives that she touched, all the families, everyone has been pouring out so much just love. And, you know, we get just random cards in the mail about, you know, how she touched somebody's life or this, that, and the other. So it's been very, you know, just such a confounding experience that we can't even put into words. because there are certain things that we just can't. The words just don't exist to describe certain things. So, and when you talked about breaking the news, it was the most difficult thing I've ever had to do. To tell, especially the older ones, the teenagers, that their mother had transitioned. That was, man. It's like, there's a lot of people throw out this word empath, that they are empaths, or people are empaths. I don't know what that word means, but it's like I conceptually understand what that word means, but it wasn't until I had to break the news to each of my children that I actually felt what being an empath means, because I felt each of their pain, because I had to tell them and then observe how the news was shattering them in each moment, just, and I had to sit there as their father and just absorb and soak all that in right then and there, man. Ooh,
And it almost kind of feels like you're stuck in time too.
yeah,
It feels like you're stuck in time. Like everything else around you is moving forward, but
yeah,
you're still stuck on this. Um,
man.
and you're walking around with that heavy feeling in your chest and in your throat. Like you just get choked up every time that you look at a picture of her. I think about I had to celebrate our first Mother's Day without her, and I'm thinking about how Elias is going to start handling Mother's Day when he gets older and he's in school and they're doing Mother's Day activities and stuff like that, and how that's going to affect him and hurt him. Did after you guys went back home with your baby and everything, were your children looking and staring at pictures of your partners?
So I I kind of made a decision because I wasn't sure how to handle that, right? Like, do I kind of direct it and not have pictures? Like, and so I never forget, like, I was on the car ride, literally on the car ride to Kira's celebration of life service, and I was on the phone with a childhood psychologist trying to figure that out, right? Like getting some advice, like, yo, what do I do? How do I preserve her memory? Is it okay? Because I didn't know how to handle it. And the advice that I received kind of shaped it, and it was just kind of consistent. It's kind of shaped how I do everything. So I've made a conscious decision that, like, Kira is present in everything we do. Like, there's huge pictures everywhere in our house, some amazing artwork, like that Uncle Omari sent, just like he sent the rest of y'all. Like, and so, yeah, very much so. Like, they would want to look at pictures, and there's this one room that has our pictures, and Charles would love, he would gravitate towards that. Like, he would even take his toys and he would want to go play in it. It was like he wanted to kind of be around mom's energy. And then I just kind of wanted to share with you guys something too. Like, you talked about how Elias would handle these holidays and stuff, and I think that just from where I've seen you guys from a distance and the time I spent with y'all up close, I think that y'all are just doing an amazing job just preserving these memories. And I'll share with you all an experience that happened to me. So I met a brother a few months ago, and who had lost his mother in childbirth, right? And he was weeks away from his 40th birthday and had never celebrated his birthday in his whole life. Think about that. Because what happened is he ended up being raised by his grandparents, and his grandparents didn't know how to handle it, didn't know how to communicate it. And it was so painful for them that they suppressed the memories, they suppressed everything, and then nobody in the family like embraced or celebrated that birthday. They associated that with the pain. And then he got older and understood, like, he carried this tremendous amount of guilt, right? And it caused him issues. And literally, he was saying that his wife had really pushed him that his 40th birthday, he was going to celebrate his birthday, right? And so I think that for me, that was just such an affirmation that the things and the way that I've been approaching it, you know, making the birthdays over the top, embracing those memories, telling them as much as I can about their mother is the best thing. It might not always, it's still going to be painful, but I think that ultimately in the long run, that's going to be so much better than the inverse, right? Suppressing. And like he literally, and what was wild about it is he went in his pocket and he pulled out his screenshot on his phone of the newspaper clipping that he found. Like he had to go and do the research himself. He went back and found the newspaper clipping of when his mom passed, right? Then he did this research on his own as an adult, because by the time he's an adult, I was trying to find his way. His grandparents, a lot of the family and people who knew him knew her had passed. So yeah, man, like definitely. And that was I went down a rabbit hole, and I'm sorry for deviating, but I definitely think those pictures, man, and those memories and trying to preserve them and is important. My kids definitely gravitate towards it. And the other thing too, let me say this, it allows us to like embrace the beautiful parts of Kira's memory, right? So it's okay to tell funny stories. And when the music comes on, oh, mommy loved this song, and we crank it up to the max and we're silly with it. And we watch things. Mommy took us here. Mommy loved to eat this. You know, mommy loved the Falcons, even though they suck, right? Like, and we talk about all these things. And it's just cool, and it allows us to be in a place of joy with the memories, even though sometimes it's hard. Like it allows us to really just celebrate her, and yeah, that's kind of been our approach.
I appreciate you sharing that. And Charles, if I can also ask another question.
Yeah.
You know, you've been doing this for such a long time now. Do you ever feel guilty, almost in a sense, for smiling or laughing, you know, because your loved one's not here? I know that that's something that I've been struggling with myself.
You know what, man? No, because I know like that's her energy being present, right? And that was her. And I think that I don't, but what's wild though, Bruce, I'm glad you brought that up, right? Because nobody can tell you how you should grieve, right? Like they can't put that on you because there's no manual for this. And however you choose to preserve memories and however you choose to create a life for you and Elias, that's your choice, man. And so that was one of the things that I struggled with too, is because a lot of the things that I was doing were unconventional and different, and people kind of looked at me as crazy because they're used to, like, particularly you guys saying, like, we're in the South, like the deep South, right? And things are done a certain way here when it comes to grief and funerals and stuff, and you wear all black and it's slow singing and flower bringing. And I was just like, God put this vision on my heart that I wasn't going to do that. I was going to do something different. I was going to, you know, we were going to wear vibrant colors, and for a couple of reasons. For one, because I didn't feel like that was consistent with who Kira was and how she lived her life. And then two, I felt like for my sanity, I couldn't have that like energy hovering over me, right? I needed to like try my best to embrace her energy, which was love, which was light, which was laughter. And another thing that happened too, what happened that was helpful for me is because I took steps in that direction, and we would tell funny stories and we would try to be upbeat when we could, it gave other people around us permission to do the same thing, right? Like, because they just don't know what to do. They don't know how to support you, right? And so they think that it's just, well, but you know how it is, like when you're trying to heal and you might just be taking two steps towards the right day. And this is one of the conversations me and Armand had, right? It's like, and you might finally just get a little, and then somebody goes, oh, and they pulling on you, and they're pulling you right back down. You doing your best just to breathe, right? And sometimes that's okay, and if that's how people are feeling, but there's no way that we can constantly survive in that space, in that energy, right? We have to embrace the love and the light of these people. So I don't feel guilty. There are things in being 1,000 with you that I do feel guilty about. I second guess decisions that I've made. I went through times, of being honestly, I went through times a lot where I really I'm trying to say this without saying dark, but fuck it. Like, I really wish that it was the other way around, to be honest with you. Like, I felt like my boys needed their mother so much more than they needed me. And so I dealt with that a lot. I still deal with that, just being honest. So there are things, Bruce, that I do feel a lot of guilt about, but I feel like Kira would want us to smile. Kira would want us to be happy. Kira would want her boys to smile. And so I never carry guilt in my heart around that. And I hope that kind of answers the question.
Definitely. Thank you so much for answering. Anybody else wanna share their piece on it? All right, so let's move forward. And so I just want to talk about, your treatment, um, because stepping into birth work and learning and studying, you start to find out so much heavy stuff, like how our communities are so substantially underfunded. And I was making the indication that this is how they're putting profit over people, because over 60% of these women, especially in the Bronx, don't need C-sections but are getting C-sections, and these providers are securing about an extra $8,000 per cesarean versus a natural birth. Now we're talking more than half these women don't need the cesareans. They're clearly putting profit over people. But in this case, and I'm gonna bring it back to you, Charles. That's a little bit different because you guys actually went to a well-known hospital and still received this treatment. Can you talk about that a bit?
Yeah, so I'll even take it a step further, right? In Kira's case, we went to Cedars-Sinai Hospital, which is supposed to be one of the best hospitals in the country, right? And additionally, we actually went in for what was actually supposed to be a scheduled C-section. So we went in understanding that we were going to have a cesarean. What ended up happening is that during Charles's birth, our first son's birth, we tried to do it naturally, and then every time the Kira would have a contraction, his heart rate would drop. And so he ended up having to be born via emergency C-section. Thank God he was born perfectly healthy, and Kira didn't have any complications from the recovery, right? So when we found this new doctor who we trusted in California, he was the one that recommended we have a cesarean because Kira had to have a cesarean for the first birth, right? And we felt good about our relationship with him, and we trusted that. And the thing is, in Kira's case, it wasn't the cesarean that it was a lot of contributing factors, but very much the negligence that took place when they recognized that her condition was deteriorating, right? That led to her ultimate transition. But you're right. You make such a profound point. Right now in the United States, I'm gonna hop on my data soapbox real quick just to share with our listeners. Right now in the United States, it is both more dangerous and more expensive to give birth than any other country in the industrialized world, right? And so when we talk about the cesarean rate over the past 25 years, you see if we took a graph, right, and we showed you the maternal mortality rate in the United States is going like this. And if we took a graph and we laid the cesarean rate on top of it, they are it directly correlated, right? So what happens with cesareans is, you're absolutely spot on, Bruce, is that with a cesarean, you can, you know, turn over a baby, meaning turn over, I mean, you can have a baby, you know, birth much faster and charge up to 3 times as much, right? And so what happens is, they're also making these calls a lot of times, often based upon, um, bottom line, insurance is racist, right? Let's call it what it is. Insurance is racist in this country. Insurance profiles, and then people will profile you based on the type of insurance coverage you have. They understand what your insurance is going to pay for. They understand how many days in that hospital it's going to pay for, and they understand at what rate they're going to be reimbursed. And so doctors, well, not only that, it's not only just the cesareans, but it's the overall interventions, right? It is the Pitocin, it is the inducements, it is the epidurals. Every time they have a quote unquote intervention, that's a line item on your bill, right? So that's why you're seeing these interventions go up, because every time they do a quote unquote intervention, your bills are going through the roof. And fellas, all y'all know, y'all have, you know, y'all know what skin to skin is, right? Like, meaning like your bonding time with the baby. And I apologize, and I'm just always want to give deference and just send love to Xavier when we're having these conversations. I know that they're like, but skin to skin and having that bonding time with your baby. There are hospitals that, if you look, and I'll challenge y'all to go back and look, like, they're charging you for skin to skin. They're charging you on your bill to hold it, like basically we told you to hold your baby on your chest. We're gonna charge you for that. Like, that's how crazy this is. But yeah, it's absolutely profits over people, man. And the cesareans are out of control, man. It's out of control, and we have to do we have to go a long way, particularly for mothers. And the thing is, it's like, they're trusting, right? We're trusting. And, you know, I was trusting, and I consider myself, I was involved. I was at every appointment. I was at, you know what I'm saying? I was, you know, everything. I never missed an appointment. I was in the room. I felt like I was well read. And like, I got snowed in the biggest way possible, man. So yeah, man. You spot on. Profits over people is a huge problem. We got a lot of work to do.
Huge problem, huge problem. And Armand, I have a question for you that I'm just a little curious about. Um, Knowing that Yolanda was a birth worker and that she was a doula, why is it that she had to go into a hospital for delivery?
That's actually a great question. When you actually asked about guilt, I thought about it a lot. Like, I could have pushed more. I could have, felt like maybe I was too laid back and trusting her to make the decision, instead of me stepping up and like literally like locking her in the basement, like, we're not going to the hospital, right? Um, I think it was just, the biggest challenge with there is that she really trusted this particular provider. I think with COVID, with everything that was going on in 2020 with COVID, and the twins are considered, by a certain extent, high risk, high risk. So she, had this provider that she trusted. He's supposedly the best natural doctor, in the city of Atlanta. Man, she had a relationship with him, and, because she served as an on-call doula in his practice, for years, prior to this. And it was just more of, she just wanted to make sure that the twins were, they were okay, going to the, she was going to her, these were prenatal visits that she was going to. So she went to her 38th week prenatal visit, and, somehow, the provider, I guess, voiced his concerns about the baby's well-being. And I think that triggered something in her, right? You know, as a doula and, you know, knowing what she knows, I think in that moment when this was someone she highly trusted from a, you know, medical profession, um, because she went to the visit with her mom and I didn't go to that last visit. That's another thing. I'm like, man, I should have been there. I should have went. I should have, you know, relive all these, you know, things that I should have, could have done. Um, I think he somehow, I think, projected a sense of fear, you know, in his concern, you know, with the babies. But for me, it was like, and because her and I were texting that day, and I was like, "What's going on?" She was like, "You know, what do you think about an induction?" I'm like, "For why? Like, why are we talking about an induction? Like, you're 38 weeks." I'm like, you know, are the babies okay? Are they, you know, are they still kicking? You know, she was like, "Yeah, everything is fine." I'm like, "Is heart rate okay?" She's like, "Yeah, you know, everything is fine." I'm like, "Then why is he talking about this?" Well, he's thinking that the babies that one of the babies that has not gained weight in about a month. But I'm like, you know, but you're still 38 weeks. There's, you know, they're not kicking. There's no distress, right? There's nothing evident here that something is wrong, except for, you know, the baby is measuring, you know, measuring, let's say, you know, not according to the chart. So, you know, whatever, you know, they're basing their measurements on. And I'm just like, but it's like, so I wasn't there at that visit. So I'm not sure what, I think it was, for me, it was just, it seemed like he projected some sense of fear in her that something was going to ultimately happen to the baby. That she, you know, with everything that she knew, she was willing to sacrifice herself, you know, because at that time, it's like she went against everything that she knew because she was more concerned about, you know, the babies. And I even remember when, the day before she transitioned, her biggest concern was her pumping milk for the babies while she was literally, like moments away from her last breath. And she was just like, I need to pump. I need to pump for the babies. I need to, that's all she was thinking about. It's so I relive that moment, a lot. And it's she trusted this provider, and I just feel like she was improperly advised. Not just my perspective. I don't think we could have waited another week. We could have waited. It was 38 weeks. We could have waited. We had time to to reevaluate things. It didn't have to happen that day. But 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 they pushed it. He was pushing it, and projecting that fear. And for me, I'm like, this is the best, natural doctor in the city. This is a doula, lactation consultant for 12 plus years. I'm like, I'm like, I'm like, we're talking about some financial statements or some stuff. I can give you some insight, but I'm like, I just, so for me, it was like and ultimately, she had made up her mind because, that I guess she was concerned. She was afraid that she was going to lose a baby or something. I think that's whatever was said to her. I think what had to be so soul piercing that she felt that she had to go through with something that she was completely against, just because she was willing to save, the baby's life. So I look at it like she sacrificed herself, um, for for the sake of
the baby.
yeah, yeah.
Oh man, that's the type of person Amber was too. More focused on, she knows her health is deteriorating, but she's more focused on Elias, and making sure Elias is alive and healthy. I don't want to take up too much time because I know we don't have too much longer. I could talk to you gentlemen all day. I have so many questions for y'all. But there are some things that I am curious that I'm gonna jump straight to. Um, so of course, after everything is said and done with us and we're facing this trauma, was there any help from for any of you, was there any help from the hospitals, such as providing funeral expenses? How did you guys provide funeral expenses? Was it through crowdsourcing? Did you guys get it from a friend, family member, rich uncle? How did you guys handle that?
I think you know the answer to that question. I ain't hospitals ain't giving y'all giving us nothing, man. It's community, it's community, man. Community, you know, poured into us in our time of need, and you know, like that's like I've been like before this whole ordeal, a lot of how I moved was just very individualistic. And I think that's just really how Americans are, you know, are taught. Like, you know, you think about you and it's about what you want to do and how you want to do it. And, you know, like leave everybody behind and, you know, just do you. Like that's the thing, you know. So um you know, but with Shamani's passing, I mean, and just even before she passed, like just the way her whole life was pretty much set up was centered around community, you know. So when, you know, she transitioned, you know, the community stepped up and continues to do so. The hospitals, the last time that we might have heard from them was the last time that we were in there when she passed, and it was just basically, you know, we're so sorry, you know, and you know, move to on to the next. But you know that kind of
You're just thrown into the woods by yourself.
yeah, definitely. But for me, like honestly, that brings us back to just why, you know, doulas and midwives is just so important, man. Like everybody should have one, because my doula, I speak to my doula every week.
Yes.
You know, just over GP, just not even just because we have that relationship now. You know, we built that relationship through you know, the services that, you know, she provided for us. But it wasn't, you know, of course, just you know, these are the exercises you do. Let's, you know, let's talk about nutrition. Let's do this. And of course, that's part of it. But, you know, the bigger piece to that was, you know, we became a part of a community, you know, of her community. She became a part of ours. We became family, you know, and that's something that you get. That's something that you can't pay for. That's something that you know, a hospital or the business of healthcare will never provide, you know,
Exactly.
because when it all comes down to it, you know, that's not what they're there for. They're there for, like you said, you know, to treat you as a number, get as much money from the health insurance that you have as possible, and get the next person in there, you know. So we need, you know, women need health. They need doulas. Women, men, families, we need doulas. We need midwives. We need to really build that community and really, you know, be able to lean on each other in our times of need. Because, you know, just for me personally, there's no way, like I said before, there's no way I could have gotten through this without you guys. There's no way I would have been able to get through this without my family. There's no way would I've been able to get through this without my community and also Shamani's community, you know, which is now and forever will be my community, you know, because of, you know, just that love and that bond and that you know, that energy that we all share in order to make sure that, you know, each individual prospers together, you know, and making us all stronger. You know, that's nothing that the healthcare system can ever give us.
Yeah, and that's actually very similar to what I came up with as well. Community, um, and that we can do this together, and that we need, you know, we don't need these privately funded, institutionalized medical professionals that turn us away for no good reason. You know, there's no excuse. There's no apology. There's no amount that could accommodate what was stolen from us. Um, and this is another thing for everybody around the room. Has this affected your sleep? How have you guys been sleeping? Because I know me, I have to keep myself busy my eyelids are just they've had enough. And there's times where I can't even sleep in my bed. I sleep on my couch. I'll sleep somewhere else, but sometimes it's really hard to sleep on my bed. Um, did you guys face similar experiences?
Um, well, going back to the kind of backtracking a little bit, the the expenses as far as funeral and things like that. My situation was a little bit different because um, Demi had already had, and credit to her mom and her dad, because they already had like life insurance. And when her dad was getting ready to pass away, um, she knew that was something that was important, but he was able to do things for her because he had made that decision early on to get covered. So in our case, a lot of it was the life insurance, And the crazy thing is, looking back at it now, it's um, like I was saying earlier, Bruce, like she already had life insurance, but when I had became a financial planner, she was one of my first clients, and I was a part of that. And I remember, clear as day, her dad and her mom walked in, and her mom was a big advocate about it. And of course, me being a young man, she was kind of worried about, like, because that's a big deal, that's a really big deal. So, in short, life on our end, life insurance had got that covered, and that's why we are even able to be in this fight, because that was a big part of it. And the first, the first day waking up, coming back from the hospital that night, it was so surreal, and and it just felt fake, you know, and you're so used to being by someone and saying goodnight, and you love them, and it just got robbed from me. And so it didn't really, I don't think it even really hits me still, but I can tell you the first couple of days, and especially the first night, the first morning, I didn't even know what really happened. I guess I was still in shock and things like that. So it was just, it was very hard. It was very, very, very hard. Especially, we all know you're by them 24/7. You go home to them. Living with them. They're gonna be there no matter what. And when I went home that night, it was just surreal. It was hard, and the days go on. Yeah, it does have your days where it gets easier, but I mean, it's just hard. It's just hard not having them here, and yeah.
Yeah, and it's like you still wake up every day wanting to see them and wanting to feel them and wanting to feel their presence, and reality slaps you in the face. And yeah, that's tough. That's something I'm still struggling with myself. Um, my mom plays tricks on me sometimes, and there's times where I'm waking up and I'm thinking I'm waking up from a dream and I get to see Amber again, and that's not the reality of it. And you're still left with that heavy feeling in your chest and in your throat. Um, and it's really hard to live like that, you know. But of course, we have to do what we're doing now. If you feel something, feel that, release, allow yourself to feel that. What is something that you men are doing to honor your wives and your partners? Like, Charles, could you tell us a bit about the Kira Johnson Act and Momnibus and how we can support that as well?
Yeah, sure. I appreciate it, Bruce. That was just, just really just, man, y'all are just amazing, man. I don't know. It's I just have to say this real quick and I'll kind of go into the cure. So I think like for me, particular these conversations with y'all and when I've been invited to do stuff with Omari and when I have these conversations with dads who are in the same boat, it's tough because like like I was saying to Omari in the chat, it's like looking in the mirror, right? Because it's pain. There's also kind of like certain aspects of the story or the pain that only get shared in these conversations because y'all are the only people that can relate. Like Bruce, you're the only person that knows to ask these questions. Like I literally tell Kira's story every day, like every day. But it's only in these conversations that certain things come out, and it's hard, man. But I'm beyond grateful for y'all, man. So, the Kira Johnson Act, right? So, we formed an organization called For Cure for Moms that is dedicated to uplifting families, empowering moms. The bottom line is just making sure that we send as many mothers home as we possibly can with their babies. So on Monday, and this has just been just an amazing week. I'm just proud to be kind of concluding it with y'all. But on Monday, we went to Congress and introduced a package of 12 bills, 12, not one, not two, not three, not four, but a dozen bills that we packaged together called the Momnibus Act, right? And this is monumental because this package of bills will specifically address the Black maternal health crisis. And let me be clear, and I want everybody to understand how to address this if this question comes up. So people ask the question, why does it have to be about Black women? Let that sizzle in your spirit for a second. The reason it has to be about Black women is because if we fix this for Black women, we fix it for everybody, right? Because we fix it for everybody because if our women in the Black community are dying disproportionately more, if we can stop them from dying, then guess what happens to everybody else, right? So that's first and foremost. So this package of bills addresses the many complex issues facing women of color. We have a bill specifically that addresses the specific needs of service women. We have a bill that specifically provides funding for innovation in how technology can better serve mothers in childbirth. We have a bill that addresses the social determinants in healthcare, right? So we're good as having healthcare insurance or, Medicaid, Medicare coverage if the mother doesn't have the food that she needs to have a proper diet, or she doesn't have the transportation to get to and from her pre and postnatal visits, right? And a whole plethora of things. I won't bog y'all down with it. You can check out the information at forcureformoms.com or on our social media. But I'm very proud to say within that group of bills is the Kira Johnson Act, which is named for Kira. I'm very proud of what this bill is going to do. It's going to, like Omari said, let me just say this for the doulas and the midwives and the birth workers that are here. Doulas matter. Midwives matter. We love y'all. We are grateful for y'all. My biggest regret is that we did not have a doula when we were bringing my sons into this world, right? I believe the Kira would be here. But first and foremost, it's going to provide funding specifically for community-based African-American female-led organizations, right? So what that means is we're going to provide funding that's going to go directly to the women on the front line that are catching the babies and protecting women in our community, right? It is going to provide funding to be able to diversify the workforce. So we're going to be able to send more doctors and nurses and midwives of color and provide resources for them. But very importantly, one of the most things I'm most proud of is it's going to take very important steps towards provider and doctor accountability. So the way we're going to do that is through what's called standard of care, dignified standard of care compliance offices, right? So watch this. Now this is this the trick I'm gonna hit them with. So what this means is we're gonna provide grant funding to establish these quality of care compliance offices within hospitals that are independent from the hospitals. Okay, so that means if you're in a situation and you feel that you were discriminated against, you feel like the doctors were negligent, they weren't timely, any of those issues that you have, what happens now at hospitals is you fill out a form and somebody from quality control, which really is risk management, comes and talks to you, and then that gets stuffed in a file drawer and it goes away. What's going to happen is these offices are going to be established inside the hospitals, independent from the hospitals. And then watch this. This is the gag. Once we collect that information, the federal government is going to publish that data, right? So the transparency is the hammer, right? And so we believe in theory that by having to be accountable and having these complaints and these grievances made public, it goes a long way to holding providers accountable if they know that their errors, that patients and families have a voice, right? And so that's the first step. And I'm going to shut up because I want to get to y'all. But what I truly believe, what the goal is this is a first. Like if this was a game, right? This is just a coin toss because this is a long journey. But where I want to go is I want to ultimately tie performance to compensation. That's how we're going to turn this around, right? Because the reality of the situation, we talk about what's affecting Black and brown women, that's a generational fix, right? Like I can't legislate your humanity, right? I can't legislate your bias. I can't legislate that bullshit out of your heart. I can't do that. Me going to Capitol Hill ain't gonna fix that. But while we're working on these issues of people's internal struggles around Black and brown, let's make this shit about green. Let's make it about green. And when I tie your performance, because we're going to collect that data, now the next step is to say, okay, now we're seeing that this is where we have these data points. Like, and I'm talking, Armand is a numbers man, right? So we have these data points. We can understand how we're quantifying this. If you all are not meeting a standard of care and treating families with dignity, then you don't get paid. We cut off your Medicaid, Medicare reimbursement, right? We turn to Blue Cross Blue Shield, and you have a threshold that if these hospitals aren't doing it, then you don't get paid. And so people say, well, Charles, that's kind of crazy. You damn right it's crazy. But this is a necessary approach, and it's not unprecedented because this is how they turned around the cardiovascular epidemic when it was affecting middle-aged white men and they were dying of heart disease. They said, whoa, 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 whoa. We need to have a standard of care. And if the standard of care isn't met, then we're not paying. So we're going to take that same model and implement it in maternal health and watch how quickly this turns around. That truly tying compensation to performance and quality of dignified care is how we fix this in 3 years.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I don't want to take up too much time.
I'm sorry to take so long with that, y'all. Y'all get like that.
That was so needed. That was great information that all of us needed, and we truly appreciate you. We do only got 3 minutes. We had some questions and answers, but unfortunately, we're not going to be able to get to those today. We can get to it on our next panel discussion. We are holding 2 more panel discussions this month. Different topics, of course, as well. But we need to do another Surviving Fathers Part 2 because I just have so many questions for y'all. And I really wish that Khalil and Juwan got to join, but they got tied up with something. But it would be love to have all of you. And also this is a free event, but we are accepting donations. And if it's all right with you, gentlemen, I would like to forward the contributions over to Xavier and Armand from tonight's episode. So please, everybody, if you guys donate to us, click on our link tree. If you're gonna donate over to Xavier, let me get a justice for Demi. Let me get a justice for Yolanda. And let's see what we can help the gentlemen out. All right. But gentlemen, it's been a pleasure having you guys.
Amazing, man. That's awesome. I gotta say that really quick. Awesome. I appreciate that. That's dope.
Absolutely. It's
Man,
dope.
Man,
Yeah,
thank you,
much
Bruce.
love, man.
I
Much
got
love.
nothing but love for y'all. Like y'all amaze me every single day, and I have to deal with the same pain that y'all got to wake up to. And seeing that I'm not in this alone, and that there are people out there showing strength, and that they're waking up every day to get it done. Yo, you guys are superheroes. You guys inspire me. You guys inspire the hell out of me. You know, and I truly appreciate y'all for sharing the space, and, you know, being vulnerable as well, and showing the power in that vulnerability. So, gentlemen, please, thank you so much. Everybody on the side of the screens, I need y'all to give it up for them. Gentlemen, I need you to give it up for yourselves. You guys are amazing, and I'm looking forward to all of the work that we're gonna do together. All right,
Most definitely.
gentlemen.
Thank you meeting everybody, but thank you for having me on here, for real. Thank you everybody for sharing your stories and, you know, dropping some nuggets for me. You know, I learned a lot from all of you.
Vice versa. Likewise. It's all love. I love you, gentlemen, so much. And
Man, love you too, bro.
Love you too, Bruce. Straight up, Xavier, man. I'm gonna hit you, man. I think I might be headed to Bakersfield, man. We're gonna talk.
Yeah, definitely. I was just thinking that we need to get out there, man. Either get out here or get you on the East Coast.
Yeah, let's do it.
We'll figure
let's
it
do
out.
it. All right. Yeah.
Definitely. Well, Kings, stay black, brown, and beautiful. I love y'all. I'm gonna talk to y'all soon. All right.
Any excuse me and Armand can do to get out of Atlanta right here. This city's on fire, bro. It's fire
Straight up
here, man. Like, oh, like, man, like it's crazy out here in these streets, man. Like, come somebody bail me out, man. I love my city, but bro, this is crazy out here. This ain't where I grew up, man. It's too much, man.
Straight up.
Go home. They need to go home. City's wide open. Clubs bunking. Malls crazy. Shootouts on the highway every night.
Wow.
Man,
like it's like the Wild West out here. I'm on my line, like, yo, they burned down Krispy Kreme, y'all. Who burns down Krispy Kreme? To the floor.
Wow. You gotta be real mad.
That's an ATL institution.
That's crazy.
That's wild.
What's next? Wow.
Yeah, right. Exactly. We'll take out Krispy Kreme.
Let's go, man.
Well, gentlemen, much love. Everybody stay safe.
All right.
Talk soon. All right.
All right. Take care.
Much love, everybody.
Peace.